Well, hello YouTube. It's me. I'm back. I know it's been pretty quiet on my channel lately, and so I just wanted to check in with you and let you know what's been going on, as I, like everybody else, has been dealing with this COVID-19 pandemic. So I've been busy getting myself organized, making sure that I've got my kids busy, that my parents are taken care of, that Delphine and I have all the food and supplies that we need to be able to quarantine and isolate ourselves when required, and kind of be resilient. So I have been spending a lot of time in the sugar bush. If you remember from last year, I have a new Dominion and Grimm evaporator with which I've been making syrup previously for the big wild year and now for the upcoming year. And over the summer I didn't get a chance to do some of the upgrades there that I wanted to, and I'm just going to take you on a little tour of the sugar bush today, talk about what's going on there and what's going on in the world, and we'll see where we're at by the end of this video. So one thing I did to make my life easier is I got one of these food grade drums, which I'm going to set up as a gravity feed. So last year I was manually adding sap to the pans, and the issue with that is that it cools the pan down every time you dump sap in. But if you have a gravity feed connected to my float box, then what happens is it'll trickle in as it's evaporating, so it really slows the rate and evens the rate at which water comes in, and makes it a much more efficient operation. Now the trouble with these is that these are a unique thread, and you can't really get different parts that would screw into here, and I want to be able to run a hose out of this tank over to my float box. So I picked up one of these rain barrel spigots, and what I want to do is drill a hole in here and put that spigot on there so that I can have my line coming out. And then I ordered a pump off of Amazon, a 12-volt pump, and it's going to feed into this hole, and then this is going to be my gravity line coming out. And what's going to happen is it's not going to be standing up. I'm going to build a platform, and it's going to be sitting up on the platform this way, so it'll drain out the bottom and I'll be able to feed in the top using my pump. So the problem I had is at home I only had a 1/2 inch drill bit, so I'm going to head into my dad's shop and we're going to get the right size bit to pilot the hole here so that we can put on this rain barrel adapter. Alright, well, there's the drill press, and you can see that it is not very bright in here for working. Currently all we've got set up is this fluorescent bulb. Now I've been wanting to do this for a while now. I want to upgrade the lighting in here, and I was contacted by Sansi LED company, and they make this LED. It's like a fold out LED lamp, so you can screw it in, and then you can bend the arms to direct light, and so all 4 of these arms bend up and down, and you can kind of control or manage where the light falls. So we're going to set that up in here and see how much more light we get for working over at this drill press. So here's our current light level, and I'm just going to put this new bulb in, and there's the light level with that Sansi bulb. So a huge difference, and actually there it is. I mean, you can't tell on the camera, but I was screwing it in and the power was on, so of course flashed me right in the eyeballs, and that wasn't cool. But what is cool is how bright it is, and the fact that I can lift this arm to direct light more directly over to this drill press, or if I was working underneath it, I can just turn it downwards so the light is straight down. But I'm going to lift that up so that this work area is well illuminated, and now I can find the right bit to drill the hole in that spigot and get operating on this gravity tank. So I appreciate, I'm in the bright light now, I appreciate Sansi LED sending me that light, and I'm going to link that product below, but you can also check for other LED lights that they offer. This one, for example, I think is not rated for outdoor lighting, but it's perfect in a shop like this. So very excited to have it, especially because I sharpen chainsaws in here and work on other projects. You know, we have a table saw and some other tools, so it just makes it a much more workable space. Oh, here we go. Didn't want to fire up at first. Don't have it at the right height. Just make sure that's going to pass through without touching. We're good. Donut. Right. Hopefully it holds water. Just gonna grab the undestroyable, goes anywhere, does anything, Pelican Snow Trek sled. The snow is melting in the barnyard here, but lots of snow in the bush. Well, we seem to be living in particularly interesting times right now. I'm just headed up to the sugar bush. Got, well, here in Ontario, Canada, in my province, we are under a state of emergency. And as of yesterday, it's now illegal to have social gatherings of more than 5 people together. So that really limits your for real social life, although you can still gather online. And one thing that's been really awesome is that some of my friends started a Google Hangouts group, and we do group calls a couple times a week, check in with each other and tell jokes, have some drinks, and that really helps to lighten everybody up, because, you know, I'm pretty fortunate where I live. I have a lot of space, a lot of privacy, a lot of options to keep busy, but people in urban centers are really kind of limited in what they can do. And recently all of the non-essential stores shut down, and tied into that, a lot of the online delivery services are no longer guaranteeing delivery dates. So even if you try and make the most of downtime, it's hard to get your hands on, you know, resources to do things that you might want to do, like paint your house or work on a porch or a hobby. So that complicates things. And I think for us, we're just really trying to make sure that we increase our resiliency as much as we can, by kind of fortunate that we probably still have an employable future, and a bit of space to garden, raise some chickens, tap maple trees, and of course, with last year being the big wild year, we've certainly been practicing our foraging and our hunting and our fishing. So those are all good skills to be able to fall back on as well. And I think it's important to get out and exercise and get fresh air as often as you can, if your circumstance allows, and keep your mind busy with something to balance the anxiety of the social and economic situation, I suppose. Unfortunately, I've noticed that a lot of people are venting their anxiety and politicizing the situation, where their negativity really comes out on Facebook and other social media, where they kind of just pick up on the worst statistics or the worst possibilities that they see and propagate them through their networks. And I think it's a real opportunity for people to come together in positive ways, which I've also seen a lot of. I think a lot of prepper groups, they tend to be sitting pretty smug right now. But I think they're really in the best opportunity or the best position to educate people around them. When there are tons more people looking for resources on resiliency and preparedness and home cooking and homeschooling and all those things. And it's really an opportunity for people who are ahead of the curve to give some of their knowledge to their communities around them. It's important to remember that individuals don't survive alone. They only survive as members of families and tribes and communities and societies. And so you need to think about how you can help preserve those social structures that help to ensure your own survival. Well, this scene should look pretty familiar to anybody who was following the channel last year. Got the Dominion and Grimm under the tarp here. Unfortunately, it's rained for over 24 hours, so all the firewood's pretty damp and things are looking pretty good. Lots of sap and some almost finished syrup in the syrup pan. And this is the float box. So last year I just was continually dumping buckets in here and keeping an eye on the level gauge to see how much sap was in the pan. But now I'll be able to run this hose to the gravity feed, and as long as I keep that gravity tank topped up, as the water level drops in here, it should open the plunger and allow in makeup sap, and that'll keep this at a constant level and a constant flow through operation. So it boils, and as it follows the loop here, it ends up creating a concentration gradient. So your fresh sap is here, and then your most boiled sap ends up over in this corner. There's a transfer box behind here, and so as your syrup boils down in the front, your transfer box has the same float valve kind of a setup and allows some of your most concentrated sap to trickle into the syrup pan, and you can draw it off here. And of course, as you draw it off, then more sap is coming in to take the place. So once you have enough sap storage, you can run this thing pretty hard and you're going to get continuous output. I don't have a snow machine and there's way too much snow to run the four-wheeler, so I'm going to have to truck up some lumber manually and set up the gravity feed. What I might do just for a quick job is use these three trees here and just make kind of like a platform by nailing boards across, and then that tank can sit up high here, and I should be able to pump when my pump comes in, or with my drill powered pump that I have, I should be able to pump sap up into the gravity tank, which will feed down into the boiler. Been working hard here too, splitting firewood. So we have some fairly dry wood under the tarp here that's been sitting since last year, and then this is just all the new firewood that we've cut and split in our downtime. So that'll be firewood for next year or for 2 years from now. 2-year-old firewood is the best. Let's go check out some buckets here. So I'm running aluminum buckets. I don't like the look of the lines when you run all the gravity lines through the woods. I really like the look of these old buckets. And there's a bit of sap in there. Not much. Some of it might be rain from all the rain we've been having, but I did have the lid on. And these are great if you've got kids and you've got a maple tree in your yard. Even if it's a red maple and not a sugar maple, or even a Manitoba maple, which is a box elder, you can make sap with those as well. So it's a good project to set a bunch of these up for your kids and have them monitor it and then do some boiling. And if you're just doing small quantities, you can manage that in your kitchen. I just fell through the snow here. The snow is getting pretty crumbly, so kind of need the snowshoes now. And even though we've had all that rain, there's still a pile of snow back here, which makes things difficult. Oh, I should show this sled. This is from 1987, Department of National Defense. Carries 200 pounds of cargo. This is like an Arctic toboggan that the military used, and my mom got it at an auction. It's made of magnesium or magnesium alloy, so it's pretty light, and it's okay. The only problem is that the runner broke. So, and over here it's worn out. You can see it's worn smooth here from use. In this one point, it must be where the main weight was. So it needs a new runner, new rivets. I'm averaging about 1.75 liters per tap right now collecting. So at that rate, when I get through my 111 trees I think I have tapped, I'm not going to have enough pails to store it all in. So I started a fire, and we will evaporate some down this afternoon. So my wood's a little bit wet. I'm just going to fiddle with this a bit and try and get a good roaring fire going and get this stuff evaporating. It's pretty much the worst conditions for collecting sap. It's like you don't want to wear snowshoes because the snow is so heavy and you sink too much and then your snowshoes get caught. But if you don't wear them, the snow is so deep, like every third step you go through over your boots. But anyway, it's got to be done. So I figured I got about 200, pretty close to 200 liters of sap. And I'm trying to boil it down before I leave. I'm getting hungry. It's 5:45 and I haven't eaten too much yet today. I'll show you what's going on. So those 2 buckets over there are full in the sled. There's a half a bucket here. This is 60 liters and it's more than 2/3 full. This one is a 200 liter. It's a 55-gallon drum, but it's mostly frozen sap. Even my brand new filter is frozen in there right now, so that's got to warm up a bit before I can boil it. And got some nice evaporation going on here. Look at all that steam coming off. And there's a good boil. I don't want to steam up the camera, but there's a good boil going on in the sap tanks there. And then if we go in, let's sneak under the steam, fly under the radar, have a little look. Our sap temperature is not really up to the syrup temperature. There's actually not so much going on in here, surprisingly, for the amount of boiling going on in the back. There is some evaporation going on. There's some little bubbles, but I threw in some sort of wet wood, so it's not as hot as it could be. And that's really one of the tricks with these things is you want to set up your gravity tank so you're not constantly pouring it in, and then you want to have good, dry, small split firewood and just kind of keep feeding it steadily. And you're going to evaporate a lot of sap in a short period of time and in the most efficient way. So that's flip the camera around here. That's my day up here. Nice way to spend some quarantine time, some isolation time. Nobody up here except for Dora and I. She's been running full tilt, falling through the snow like every third jump. I'm sure she's gonna sleep very well tonight, as will I. And I'm gonna be spending a lot of time up here over the next few weeks, making as much maple syrup as we can. And then it's kind of like last year, we're thinking that we'll be harvesting pretty hard and exercising our resiliency. So we're gonna hit the smelt run, and then the sucker run, and then the open water fishing starts shortly after that. Spring greens will be after the leeks and the fiddleheads. We'll be doing turkey hunts, assuming that we're not on a travel lockdown. And gardening, hatching chicks. There are some in the incubator right now. Maybe getting a pig or two, depending on how much work we want to do. Amending the soil. We're going to pick up some manure. We're going to cut some of the shade trees down around the garden and open it up to the sunlight. We'll be composting, all that kind of stuff. And I have fewer opportunities to upload now, but I am going to do my best to keep out a video a week. I haven't been the last couple of weeks, but people have got thrown off the rails there. But that's my plan. I've got a few more products to show. So again, Sancy LED, thank you for sending that light. Super helpful in the shop. And I got a couple other things to show you guys in upcoming videos as well. And maybe also making a new gun purchase. Now that I've mostly paid off my rifle. And anyway, lots of stuff coming up. So hope you enjoyed spending a little bit of time with me in the maple bush. And I hope that you are finding ways to keep yourselves busy. I know that when I'm not up here, I'm been cleaning my house. I cleaned out my fridge. I have started to take a good inventory. So it's hard to know how much food you need, but it's you'll feel a lot better about it if you take an inventory of what you've got. And I know people are panic buying, but a really good thing to do is to actually journal your daily food requirements. And then you'll see over a week what you actually need, and you can project that over the time frame that you want to be prepared for. There are other things you can do around your house to keep busy, and it's really important to stay productive and stay positive, be resourceful, be resilient. And I'll see you on the next video.